Lesson 60 is about geometric solids, prisms, and cylinders. Now some of this is a review from Lesson 15 and Lesson 20. Now geometric solids, those are just shapes that have 3 dimensions basically. Prisms and cylinders, those are specific types of geometric solids. A prism, the way it's defined, is that it has 2 bases that are identical parallel polygons, and then the other faces are parallelograms. Now a cylinder, it's real similar to a prism, except its bases are closed curves instead of polygons. So that drawing right there, that would be an example of a prism. That second drawing is also an example of a prism because the bases are parallel to each other and they're polygons. So all the angles on the other faces, they don't all have to be right angles for it to be considered a prism. And in the same way, cylinders, those can be right cylinders like the first one there I have drawn, or they don't have to be a right cylinder. They can be at an angle like the one to the right. It's just that the bases are parallel to each other. Now the lateral sides, those are the sides between the bases. And then lateral edges, those are the edges that travel between a base, one base and another base on a prism. Cylinders don't have lateral edges because their sides or their bases are closed curves, so they don't have any edges on them. Now the altitude, whether it's a prism or a cylinder, that is the perpendicular distance between bases. That's an important word to remember. The altitude, that's the perpendicular distance between bases. And I have that drawn like on the far right cylinder. On the right cylinder, the second to the right one there, there's an axis drawn. That's right down the center of it. And the axis is right down the middle of a cylinder. On a right cylinder, the axis and the altitude, those are both the same distance. On a cylinder that's not a right cylinder, the axis is a different length than the altitude. I've written a couple of formulas there in green to review, and the first one there, that's from Lesson 20. The volume of a geometric solid like a cylinder or a prism, that's equal to the area of the base times the height perpendicular to the base. And then the lateral surface area, that's from Lesson 15. That's equal to the perimeter around the base times the height perpendicular to the base. That would be the lateral surface area for a prism or a cylinder. Let's do a couple of practice problems. Look at this pentagon. We could consider that a right pentagonal prism is the way you would say that. And the area of the base has been given, and there's the perpendicular height to the base of 9 inches. I want you to figure out the volume. Well, all you have to do is just multiply those two values together. Area of the base is 28 inches squared times a height of 9 inches. And so you just do 28 times 9. You can just do that on your calculator if you want, or if you're good at it, just do it in your head. 28 times 9 would be 252 inches cubed. And so that would be the volume for that prism. Remember, on these problems, the units are just as important as the numerical part. In problem B, we have a hexagonal prism there, a right hexagonal prism, and just pretend like, I know my drawing's not perfect, but pretend like that's a regular hexagonal prism. So that means the bases are both regular hexagons, and that means each side is 6 meters long. I want you to figure out the lateral surface area. So lateral surface area, that's perimeter times the height. And so for the perimeter of this, that would be pretty easy to do. Since each side is 6 meters long and there's 6 sides, we would just do 6 times 6 to get the perimeter. Multiply that by the height of 4 meters, and so we'll have 36 times 4. And so that's going to equal 144 meters squared. Remember, area is length squared. We did perimeter in meters. We had 36 meters of perimeter times a height of 4 meters to get 144 meters squared. Okay, so remember on these prisms and cylinders, figure out the volume of a right prism or cylinder. It's just the area of the base times the height, and then the surface area, or the lateral surface area anyway, that is equal to the perimeter of the base times the height perpendicular to the base. That's how you get lateral surface area. We didn't figure out total surface area on B. We would have had to add the area of the two bases to get total surface area. So that's different than lateral surface area. Okay, well, you're done with lesson 60. You're about halfway, or you are exactly halfway through the book now. Might be a good time to just review your mindset on math and your other schoolwork. How's your attitude doing? Believe me, I know that school can be difficult sometimes. It could be grueling and time-consuming, and you want to be doing something else. But if you work hard at your school now, it'll make it easier to get into the college you want to get into. It'll be easier to do college classes. You'll have a better chance of getting a good job. And you'll be better prepared to use the mind that God has given you. So try to continue to have a good attitude about your school. Enjoy it as much as you can.